we do it. Hi, welcome to part 2. This is a live stream for YouTube, and I'm re-colouring Thumper because I did him in greys, pale greys, his natural colour, and because he passed away a few weeks ago, I've now done him in vibrant hydrus colours, and I'm zoomed right in, so it's really difficult. So what I thought I would do is I started on Thumper's pink nose, and by going around different squares and then going back to the squares, you can vary the colour a little bit with the same paintbrush instead of having to dip in and out, or I can't use paintbrushes anymore, so hopefully his nose, if I can turn him the right way up, he'll look, I just gently fold him, he'll look like he's got a proper nose with light. So the top of his nose is catching the most light, and then it's darker underneath, and then it just gives him that little bit more realistic, although I don't think he's got a bright pink nose. And then he has a blue, bless him, doesn't really have all those colours, but so I hope that made sense. Is that okay? So what I was going to say is I came up with another idea today, because I was getting rather messy in my little book, and I put colours at both sides, and I'm just going to move Thumper out of the way because I'll do the same thing again, and I thought I need a piece of plastic to go in the middle. So I don't know if you can see that line there, but it's actually inside the Polly Pocket, and I've just stuck it down with a bit of sellotape behind here. But this is a cut down video sleeve. A few years ago I took all the videos out of their cases because the cases were kind of hundreds and hundreds, and I put them in a shoebox. So I've got them all in individual boxes, and I bought some video sleeves, CD sleeves. So I thought, and that's what this is, because I've got colour on both sides and I didn't want that to mix. So that won't mix now. But I thought my initial reaction was to put, this is how I made my book. And this is how I've made my daughter's, and it's ready for me to fill in. Which again I might do on a proper stream. It's definitely here somewhere, it should be. So my book is basically one of these from Paper Chase. Whoops! I had an avalanche and thought I might do it at some point. Whoopsie! Oh, sorry about that, I'm going to make you sick. I do apologise. Is that better? Is that worse? Oh, sorry about that. I knew if I started fiddling with it, I would break the angle of it. No, that's okay. Just so. Oh. It's upside down, but it's a Paper Chase photo album. And what I've done. Oh, see if I can, yes, I'll try and zoom out a little bit. Is that working? Is that any better? I zoomed in because of the thing is, if I hold it, it will look, it'll wobble about. So that's a Paper Chase photo book, and what I've done inside it is I have taken a sleeve and I have slotted into it a piece of photo paper. So I've got some photocopy paper, which I think yours is 8.5 by 11. Is that better? Is that okay if I just hold it for a minute or two? And then I've cut it lengthways, folded it in half, and slotted it in two. And then on each one of these, this is this sea white sketch paper. So I folded, because it was a small one, I'm going to slot that onto there and glue it down and put colour here and colour there. And then the next page will protect that colour. And then I've done the same with this one. But what you can do, is that better if I hold that like that? You can use any little, this is a little poly sleeve. Let me just scroll down a second. Is that any better? I can't see what I'm doing, you see. Is that okay for everybody? That's a poly view. But there's a poly view which is, we call it an A5. It's the same as a Hobonichi, that kind of size. So you can use one of those. You can use anything as long as you have the plastic sleeves between. Because it's the plastic sleeves which are protecting all the colours. But I've thought of another thing you could use, is some, because they're only about a couple of pounds for quite a few. I better put you down because I'll drop everything. Is that better? If I put Thumper back there. I'll put Thumper back there and just check the angle. So Thumper's back there. What I thought is if you had the photo sleeves, the CD sleeves, you could basically just stick quite a few together and then put the paper between, and then you can make them. So I thought I might actually make them and sell some, because I can put the squares on, because I have the pencils, although I couldn't actually scribble the pencils on anymore because my hands don't work. But what I could do is send them out, and they wouldn't weigh as much, because this probably weighs quite a bit now. So that was an idea I had. I thought that would be quite good. So what I might do the next time I stream, I'll make the colours and I'll put them into the book, because I've got quite a few different colours in now. So was that okay? Did you kind of understand all that? Was it a bit like mud? So I'll carry on with this and go into the purple. Oh, I've got a little bit more pink to do. And although that had dried, that was dry. I just have to scroll down a bit because I can't see it. So although that was dry, all I've done is just wet it again. Because it does dry quite fairly quickly. But that's all I've done, is just touched it, and then it's back to its original pink. Sorry, the puppy's decided to throw himself on the floor. So I hope you can see that. Yeah, I'll do the book, because I don't know if everybody has pencils and pens, but somebody will have one of the things that I have, and to put it in a little book and be able to throw it in your handbag is fab. I say that everybody leaves me in the car now because I can't walk, so they just leave me in the car, and actually I'm a happy girl. I'm a happy girl if I'm just sitting there. So I've done Thumper's nose. It's a bit difficult to see where it starts and ends with that. So I think I did that, the purple. So I shall start with the purple. And again, I'll turn it upside down, but it doesn't really matter. that was the purple, and that's the drop that's dried, but I'm using this bit here, and then if I want to just move it up here a little bit. The only thing is, by doing that I will have to wipe this off because it will contaminate the other side. But normally I work with just one side. One's got colour on it, the other side's, and then I wipe it off, but I hate to wipe it off because it's a waste. And because I don't know exactly what that's like, I'll use the back of Thumper and just double check that, is that the light purple or is that the deep purple? And that will make sure that I can get some nice deep purples under his nose, where it would be in shadow naturally. I mean, I'm not thinking 100% this has got to look like a Thumper, but again, it gives you a little bit more variation. Otherwise you might as well just paint the whole thing purple. But by doing this, and you see they were both wet, but I could still get between, because it's a very dry brush, is this. It's only damp. And what that does, it gives you the opportunity to kind of, I wanted that to be dark, didn't I? But this is a lovely pale purple, so I might use that down here. Look. So I'm not really doing it because it'll contaminate it. I'm doing it because it lends itself to have a darker top and then paler as more light hits it, as it spreads out. But if you were doing a yellow next to a purple or a deep blue, then yes, I would do that, because it obviously is going to run. But because this is watercolouring. This isn't a watercolour. This is watercolouring, and it's a lot drier. Which is why you only need a teaspoon or a tablespoon of water. That's the difference. Does that make sense? You see, that was a little bit wetter, that. But now I use the same brush and it's gone back to being not as damp. And I work this consistency, single cream, I think. Maybe not single cream now. But what I wanted to do is to make sure that when I came out further and further, it was getting paler and paler. And poor Thumper's upside down. I'm sorry about that. I mean, these will be really pale. Oh, perhaps not. So, never panic. I'll go over that. Oh, I can darken the other ones. That's because I didn't test it first. But this is just a practice. This is just a tester because I've messed his ear up, bless him. So. I think it does look quite nice, the dark contrast. I hope everybody's okay with this. Sorry, I was in my own little world there. I was in my own little world then. I was miles away. I can't tell you where I was. I can't remember. I certainly wasn't here. So a little bit pale. I think it's because he's upside down. I'm having difficulty because he's upside down, bless him, but there is a little bit of contrast in there, look. There is a little bit of contrast. I'm going to try and buy the Logitech. Oh goodness me, what is it called? It's the Logitech C930. Is it Logitech? The C920. I watched a YouTube video, and one gentleman had said that he liked that one better because you had more control. And like this one, it zooms in and out all the time. The C920 didn't do that. But then somebody else said they couldn't get the C920 to do 1080, whatever's, but so I can't decide which camera to get, because I can't carry on with my phone because people keep normally they don't, but it still does keep kicking me out for some silly reason. I'm just going to have to look at the other thumper because I'm not quite sure if I'm doing this right. I think I just can't seem to remember this bit. So that's the original thumper's nose. So it's pale and it goes darker on the outside, and then that's my thumper's nose. So it's going to be different, but again, it's different. It's I may like this one better. Everything's trial and error, unless you've done it 1,000 times. And I did the tiger. I did completely different. I can't remember where my tiger is now, but he's completely different. So again, you learn to do things differently, and you do things. I don't know. I hope I haven't frozen, and I hope you don't think it's like like paint. I need to that pink. That one. That's definitely pink. So I keep going round and round, and then in theory, squeaky doors. It's not a big old house. It's a really tiny cottage, but it has squeaky doors. In frame there as well. So I'm going to get some really nice pale colours, and then I mean you could use the side of I used to use the side of the painting. I was going to cut it out. And that might be quite dark. So yes, it was dark. You should always really check. This might look nice if it's a lot darker, because it's fiddly. Well, I say it's not fiddly, not with a small brush. It's kind of just one stroke normally does it. This is a bigger piece, but we're now getting into the really tiny areas. I mean, these are tiny areas you'd have to change brush, but so I hope everybody's okay. It is a really, really nice, fairly quick way of working as well. I mean, I'm not sure how long you would spend with pencils, but it just is not an option for me. There is no way I could do that. My daughter's brought some beautiful colours out in hers, but I just know that if I do that, I will not be able to do anything for a few days because my hand will seize up. So it's just not even something to consider. But you have to be thankful. I've still got my hands, and people haven't got any hands, so you've got to be thankful for what you've got. And I like to think I'm quite a positive person, so I can do this, which is wonderful. I mean, I'm really spoilt. Oh, thanks, Vicky. Hope you are. Thank you, everybody. Well, I think for colouring in some of the colouring books now, I've just bought the Imagimorphia. There's two. There's Imagimorphia and Animorphia and Imagimorphia. If I really carefully try to pick the camera up. I've just started using the blocks of watercolour, and that's a mixture of Derwent graphitint, so you get the gorgeous greys. Because in Imagimorphia there's an awful lot of mechanical nuts and bolts and metally things, and then that was my first attempt, because obviously I was frightened to death to colour in it. So that was my first attempt, but I'm using my watercolours, the little pans, and I've watercoloured that on my knee. And again, I'm working very dry. Very dry. Because you do, again, need a small brush. I've used the same brush, apart from the blue. I have a little, this is the biggest one, a wedge brush. This is a Daler and Rowney 1/4. Oops. And that one's an angle shader. And so I intend to put my name there and then colour around it, so that's why I've left it. So that's why I use my little book, because again the watercolours, I couldn't get all the tops, and I couldn't use these. If I had to get these out and put the drops every day, that would drive me insane. I can't clean anything. My hands are really, really, really ugly and horrible. And at 53 I didn't expect that, but hey ho. I did meet a lady whose 5-year-old has got it, so hey ho. But my little book has got a suitcase of things. I don't know if you've all seen my little book. I will risk it shutting that. And that's my little book. I'll move Thumper out of the way in case he gets... That's my little book. I have 500 squares of colour and shades, because I've managed to get the my pastels in there as well, because again I can't use my pastels. There's Faber-Castell blocks. The Caran d'Ache I do put greaseproof paper in between, but the others have just got the plastic, the back of the photo film. So there's all the Caran d'Ache in there, Neocolor 2s. And also by putting a sheet of greaseproof paper in there, I've got 6 pages in between one sleeve, if you can see that. So I love my little book. You'd say it's more precious. That's the graphitint, and because I've used them from here, these colours are shaded, and I've got a lot more control, so I can get 10 shades out of one colour, and I've put the pencils in there for do a wash, pencil graphic wash. The ink tens 72 are in there. Again, I did a grayscale, and it's upside down, but I've labelled it, so when that pencil runs out, I just get my girls to scribble over the top. And it's lasted, that looks like the day I did it, even though it's revamped. So excuse me, I need a drink. There's a book on bunny designs on YouTube called Revamping My Book, and that shows you basically how it's made and how you get the colour into. But there's the 72, which they are vibrant. There's some odd Faber-Castell and odd pencils that have the water brush mark on, so they've kind of gone in there as well. That's a better angle. 72 Graphitint. 72 watercolour. I'll label them. 72 watercolour pencils. And again, when they look like they've been used up, I just scribble more colour back over them. And they do the peerless watercolours. That's what gave me the shape of this square to use. They're in there. And Inktense blocks. So I've got quite a few in there. There's just over 500, and I'm more excited about having these pans. They're about 2mm. So as I said, I cut. I have two sets. I have this one. It's Winsor & Newton. Little box. And they're all a little bit lower now because I popped them out. Sliced the bottom off very carefully because without using the fingers, and then I put them back in, so the tops look exactly the same as they did. And then I stuck them with glue. I stuck them with glue into my little book. So now I have, because there's 2 reds, 2 blues, 2 yellows, and a brown, and there is green in there, but you can make it. There isn't a colour on the planet you can't make from those, just those 8 colours. I use Payne's Grey a lot, and I make my own depending on what shade I want, which is Payne's Grey is ultramarine and burnt umber, and that makes beautiful greys. And if you put a bit of green in it and a bit of red in it, you get black. So you never need to make a black, and you get warm blacks. You get beautiful blacks. I once took every colour from black to its original colour, and the greys you get. So instead of under a tree, if it's a reddish tree, you can have a reddish black shade, and you don't use black. You make it from your colours, and they're fab. So I might one day do a thing all about colours, because people get very confused about colours. And really, if you bought 6 of these with the white if you wanted to, but I wouldn't bother with the white. But if you bought 6 colours and a green if you wanted, and a brown, I buy a couple of browns, and 6 of the colours, you can get every colour on the planet with these. And the beauty of these is you could actually put the drops together. You can actually put the drops together and let them dry, then you permanently have that colour. So that's another thing that I say I might do, is because why would you want to buy 100 of one colour when 6 would do? Then you could have 6 of everything you wanted, and you can get the benefit of knowing how to make colours. And once you've done it once and experimented, it's so much nicer than just reaching for a colour. I mean, I do it with the 72 pencils because I made them portable, but that's because I didn't realise I could have done that. I never even thought of that. If you just had that between 2 plastic, it's about 3mm thick. You can just all those colours. So you could do that. Oh right, yes. Well, I'll do a colour tutorial. Fab. Yes, we'll do that. I do have some fab books on it as well, but I got a distinction for the colouring thing because I broke my left elbow, or it was broken for me, but we won't go there. I broke my left elbow 3 or 4 days before one of my finals, and I couldn't do the fine detail stuff that I was doing. So I ended up with a wallpaper brush, and not a wallpaper brush, a thick painting brush that you paint skirting balls with. And I made 24 squares. And I did 2 things. One of them I can't remember, but the other was taking the black, and I took the red, I took each colour, that's why I have these colours, and I had this colour, the red, and I just added a little bit more till it got to black, and I made the square just as it was turning, and then I took the brown and took it to black, and I took the blues to blacks and the reds and I took them all, and I counted, and I went to the tutor and I said, I've 24, and she said, you haven't got 24 there, and we couldn't find the last square. These squares were about this big because I couldn't do anything small, so I did them with with a painting brush, a decorator's painting brush, and when I came to this square, for the background I'd used an acrylic Payne's grey to make all the other colours look shine through, so you could see it was a reddy black or a bluey black or a browny black or a greeny black. And of course, because I'd mixed the blue, the ultramarine, with the brown to make black, it makes Payne's grey, and one of my squares completely disappeared because I'd made the exact colour. And that's how I realised that on professional watercolours on the side, not on these, but if it's a hue, if it's an orange, it will tell you that it's a yellow and a cadmium red. From a cadmium red, you can make any colour you like, and a cadmium red and Elysian, I can never say it, Elysian red, crimson, because that's your pinky reds. It's not showing up here because I can't see it. That's your pinky reds, and your other is your orangey reds. But you only need 6 of any colour, and you can mix them. Now, whether you can be bothered to mix them, or if you're not well enough to mix them, that's different. But you could mix them once and then always have them. So I'll do a colour tutorial of mixing colours. So you could have, I think there's about 100 of these. Have I frozen again or disappeared? Sorry. Have I disappeared? Yes, I think I've frozen again. I do apologise. So if anybody's got any suggestions about the best camera, that would also be pretty good, because it would mean I wouldn't have to keep doing this, which is such a pain, and it's more of a pain for everybody else as well. But yeah, I'll do a colour tutorial of different colours. So I do hope that's better. Now, put those away. So let's carry on with the thumper. I can't see what everybody else can see, but hopefully that's okay. So because I just shut the book, I can turn it over. Now you couldn't do that if you put a lot of colour on, but because I only put a drop, it's done absolutely no damage being shut at all. But you have to be careful. And I'm just re-wetting the purple, and then, as I say, I'll just put that behind so I can just touch that, and it is a darker one, so I'll go down here because I want this to be dark and hope that I'm in frame. Yeah, colour is a fascinating thing, but once you've got it, you can take any kind of pigment, any type of paint, and mix your own. And then you know that you own it in any particular set of any colours, watercolours you like, or oils, or acrylics. They all work in the same way. Do excuse my stomach, it's decided it might be hungry time. That's the other thing, I have to keep eating and I take my painkillers, but hey-ho. So I'll carry on for another half an hour, because this has got to be one of the most boring things, watching somebody else paint. And it's the same type of thing, but I do like the long brushes. I have some very short, fine brushes, but I find for watercolouring a longer brush is better, because you have so much more. You don't have to keep filling the paintbrush up. So for one paintbrush you can go from very dark to very pale in about 10-15 strokes, and there's no changing your brush. You just kind of fill it once and just keep going. You just get used to the fact that after so many, sorry, that wasn't my tummy, that was the puppy's tummy. He's dreaming, bless him. I've got to remember to do that pink. But it's getting paler and paler, and because you're swapping and chopping where you're doing it, you're getting some nice mixed colours. So it's not as boring as just filling the whole thing in one shade. Paler at the bottom and darker on the outside, I think. So if I reconstitute, and I've touched the black, I think, have I? Got to be careful. Now it has got quite light, that, so I think this is pure purple. Yes, now I've gone to pure purple now, so that should be quite deep. But there's no reason why you couldn't use other colours. You could get thousands of colours in this combination. If you're doing something like this, you could work from purple or pinks and mix them all up. I'm not sure how I did the tiger. I don't think I thought about it, but again, it's like the second time you do something else happens and it evolves into something else, and that's what colouring and being artistic is all about, isn't it? And accidents are another good one as well. I'm going to have to put this flat because I've just put some more water to it, and what I normally do is I sit my little water pot on there to hold it down. Yes, they know it's going to be feeding time soon, so if I just put that there, that'll hold that down, and then I can carry on. So I hope you all found that interesting and found some extra tidbits. That used to be a magazine years and years ago. My mother used to get it. But I think art should be free, and it should be for everybody. Because even though I was, I shouldn't say an artist, but I don't paint and do things like I used to. I learn more from people who have been doing things for 2 minutes. You never stop learning. And people that say they can't draw, I learn things from people that can't draw, but they do something else. Because it's all being creative. So just because somebody's been to university does not mean that they know everything. Was it Picasso that said you never stop learning? I think it was Picasso, I can't remember. I have all these silly quotes floating around my head and I don't know who said them. So actually just finished Thumper's snout off. Because I'm doing his designs, I think I'm going to have to make him my little mascot, aren't I? Because he was my little baby boy, bless him. I did make such a fuss. Even the girls said that the rabbit Thumper came before me or the girls. Thumper was always first, bless him. But he used to sit with me, and I had intended on him being in the live stream because he just sits there. I might show a video. I might put a video on YouTube of him when I think it was Jenny Belly's birthday bash, and again I didn't paint ever like this or really loosely, and one of the things she said to do was I think just throw paint down, and that's when I got these paints out for the first time. I'd had them for months, and I got them out. I'm pretty sure it's these paints, and they're so vibrant. And Thumper was in a basket next to me, and he was just watching me all day, and it was a really lovely day. So we're getting there. So that's Thumper's the right way up. So do let me know if anybody has a brilliant camera for streaming, and I was looking at a Wi-Fi one as well, but I can't really justify having lots and lots of pennies, spending lots of pennies on things really. One daughter's going to uni and the other one's going to college, so it's, and I do have quite a few. See, what happens if you just go in the same place all the time, it looks rather boring, so it's good to kind of switch out and do it in different places. And you see now I've moved, that's got light now. And I am struggling a little bit because I'm not in my normal. That's a bit better doing that one. I can't do the other one yet. So as I say, it's sometimes a good idea to go to different places. I did want some kind of nice darks in there. So I do apologise. I don't know who's trying to get hold of me. But, oh goodness me, what was that? Oh, the puppy's gone. So I also need to find another good time to stream as well, because I think I don't want to clash with anybody else. But I obviously want to pass on a little bit of knowledge that I do have. So I'll just finish the edge of Thumper. But again, there's quite a few purples from that one drop of paint. So sometimes it pays to get nice things. But I'm sure that if I don't think I have any more pants. I don't know what I've got. I have to have a look. I can't remember what I've got now. It's that one down there. Sometimes it's quite nice to kind of go to different places and keep keep the colours a bit more vibrant in some places. So I'll probably photocopy them and do him again. Because as I say, he's thinking. I'll just see what time's coming up to. Oh, that's as long as you find it useful. I like to pass on useful information. I do tend to repeat myself and waffle an awful lot, but as long as people find it interesting. So if I just finish a little bit more off, another 15 minutes. Yes, yeah, the colours are amazing. To say that there's 2 drops of colour on that. I'm frightened that if I move it, but if I flatten him a bit, to say that there are 2. See if I'm in frame because I've moved. To say that there are 2 drops of colour. I don't know how many different purples there are there, but there's definitely 1 or 2. Yes, the 6th hydrus will be, let me have a look. Well, I only have these, but I think I've made a mistake and I need a cobalt blue, because if you want the nice greens, you need the cobalt blue, you need a cool blue. If I show you my little box, see, I don't have many in my little box. This is my little box with my little bottles. I don't have many. I got them in the set, but then I got the wrong blue. Now, I did buy, the green was in the set. I wouldn't have bought the green because it's not really any good. So I bought the gamboge because it's an old colour. And, sorry, I mean, it's an old colour. That's 2H is that one. There is the Hansa Yellow Light, but again, I wouldn't have chosen that one. I'm not sure of the colours, but I would choose what I have in here. There's the ultramarine blue, that will give you your purples. There's a magenta, so you want that is a pink though, but the rose red or Elysian red, if they do Elysian red, I'm not sure, but you need an Elysian red for your pinks and your purples. You need ultramarine, which is a warm blue, for your purples. You need the warm red, which is the Elysian red or rose crimson red. Then you need a kind of this is the cad red, brilliant cad red. This is for your browns, because if you mix blues with this, you will get brown. If you mix blues with this, pinky red, you'll get purples. And then you want, I bought the wrong one, I've got phthalo blue, and you want a cobalt blue. You want this is again, the reds with this, you will get purples. But a cobalt blue, you will get browns. And that's why people get with difficult things. There is a purple there, but as I say, I wouldn't use those at all. But if you look at your stash and you look at your supplies and you want a warm yellow ochre, so you want a warm yellow and a cool yellow, but I would class that as a warm yellow as well. But this is fab for everything, so there would be my first 3 choices of yellows. And then you want a warm and a cold red. And then you want a cold and a warm blue. But they don't work because they're both warm. And I do have the Venetian brown, because I usually work in browns, burnt umber, and there is a charcoal black, but they were in there. I do have that vibrant pink and the vibrant purple, but they were in the set. But if you bought them individually, you'd only need 6. There's no point buying black, there's no point buying white, it's a watercolour. Even if you use it on here, how many colours did I get from one drop? Didn't mix it with anything. Didn't mix my own pink. But there must be at least 20 different pinks there. So you don't need black, you don't need white. You just need a cool warm and a cool warm, a cool and a cold yellow, blue and red. And from that you can make everything else. Now as I do get browns because I like to make the greys from the browns. But the only thing when I'm going to buy now is the phthalo blue, because that's a cool blue. So when you mix a cool blue with a warm yellow, you get a grey, because it's on the opposite side of the colour scale. I'll go through the colour scale. I'll go through the colour chart with you, and I have a colour wheel, and that might be a good idea to do a colour wheel. Yes, that's about right. Yeah, you can, if you get, yes, you want the cobalt blue and ultramarine blue will give you 2 blues. The cobalt will give you the nice greens. The ultramarine with yellows will give you grey greens. So you can get those gorgeous deep dark greens that are on roses. If you have the pale one, you'll get a really, I mean, I'll show you very quickly. If I shut that, I've moved Thumper, but this is the back of Thumper. If we go back to this, because this is the best, this is probably why I'll use this all the time. If we take a cobalt blue and put that down, that's quite pale, and then we take an ultramarine, sorry, that's not cobalt blue, it's can't pronounce it, just let me have a drink. Cerulean blue, I do apologise. It's not cobalt, because cobalt is warm. Sorry about that. I've got Venetian brown, but I won't be using that in the colour scale. I've got burnt umber, and I have a raw umber. Well, I don't, but that's the colour I always buy. Raw umber and burnt umber, these are on here. There's raw umber, burnt umber, Elysian crimson, which is the pinky red. Then there's a cadmium red, which is the cooler red. The celerium blue is the pale cold blue. The ultramarine is the warm blue. The cobalt blue is quite warm. You could use that instead of the ultramarine if you don't have that. And then you have the cadmium yellow, which is the warm yellow. And then there's the pale yellow, this one is the cool yellow. So if you mix a cool yellow with a cool blue, you will get a pale green. If you mix a dark yellow with ultramarine, you will get a deep dark grey colour, because it's on the other side of the colour wheel. So I apologise, it's cerulean blue. Cerulean blue, I think that's what it's a pale, cool blue. In fact, if you bear with me 2 seconds, because it wasn't in that pack, it was in, it's in this one. It should be in front of me. That's the blue, you see. This was the very good set, This has got the crimson, cerulean, oh God, I can't talk. I'll get them out and then you can see, because I can't sometimes. This is why I don't use this, because I can't get them out. I will use a pokey tool. Right, so if I take that out of here, I mean, it's a lovely little set, but I just can't, and that's the pen, and I can't get the pen out. I cannot get that pen out of there. So, you see that one actually fell out, that one did. No, I can't get these out of here. Wait a minute. I've got to pop them out. Just show you this really quickly. And then you can see the colours, and you can see the difference in the colours. And that's popped out of the colour as well. Out of its little box. They do pop out, so they're dead easy to. I want that one out, because now this is the cerulean blue, so we can get this one out. So it's cerulean. It's called, I think, cerulean blue. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just trying to get to it. All that focus. And it's just shy of the pot, because I've cut the bottom of it. So what I did, that's viridian, that's cream, and that's yellow ochre. I think I've put them back in the wrong pots. Ultramarine, that is a square of solid Winsor & Newton ultramarine. So I'll show you what I did. Now I suggest you get a pair of pliers, or a pair of scissors, or a pair of tweezers or something to hold it steady. But because I've been using one of these since I was 16, and that's nothing to say that I'm not going to cut my fingers off. It's just that this is how and I keep mine, and always pull this away, because these will go through anything. So I could show you on the back of Thumper. So bearing in mind you're holding this steady, you stroke about 2 millimeters. Just stroke gently across. And I'm not forcing this at all. One is I don't have any strength in my hands, and the other is I don't want to cut myself. Now if this knife slips, it's going to slip down. It's not going to touch my fingers. You must make sure that if the knife is going to slip, it's not going to be anywhere near you, because you won't get a second chance with a scalpel blade, or any blade. So I have now got a slither of ultramarine. So what I will do, I told you I'd go off on rabbit droppings. The yellow one disintegrated on me. I even put it in the freezer, in the freezer for a couple of hours. Now whether it's because we were having a hot weather in England and we're just not used to it, because that's the problem with the Caran d'Ache. If you go anywhere hot, the Caran d'Ache just melts, and that's why I gave me the idea. Now one thing I've got to do is to put that straight back on there, and always push it down like that. Never like that, because you'll end up going through your finger. So we have a piece of ultramarine that I've cut from, and that's the top. That's why I cut it off the bottom. I am now going to just pop that, says she, back in. And now you see it's that little bit shy of the top. But that's a perfect pan. And that can go back. And that's what I did with this one. I cut the bottom off it. This one is that's in the right pot, that's in the right pot. So what I was saying about this, I've got one more left in there. I've got my glasses on, that's why I can't see. I will get to the point in a second, just bear with me. I do wish my hands would work, for goodness sake. I'm waiting for a wheelchair, but I won't be able to use it because I can't get anywhere, because I can't move it, but hey ho, never mind. So that one is the yellow one. It completely went to mush. No idea why. That one is a lemon yellow. And if you look at it, it's a cool yellow compared to the yellow ochre. Now if you can only afford two, get those two. Because the yellow ochre is the skin tone one. The yellow ochre will do a million things. So I shall pop it back in its right spot. Now they actually fell out before, but if you see that one is a little bit thinner because I've cut 2mm off. And again, that's a little bit shy of its tray. But I have now got some, so Elysian crimson, well it's a hue this, but Elysian crimson is the pink, is the warm red. Cerulean blue is the pale cool blue. Ultramarine is the warm blue, and then this will be the viridian hue, which is a green. The cadmium red, now this is cadmium red pale, but cadmium red. Sorry, it keeps missing. I don't know why it keeps missing. Cad red pale hue. So, the other one they've put in there is the burnt sienna. And that's how they look without the paint taking off them. Just that little bit over. So you've only lost a couple of millimetres. So this one is the perfect, and they're not very expensive these. This is the perfect pot because they've given you a traditional watercolour set with the traditional colours from which you can make, from which every other colour is made. I've lost the little blue one. So that's all you basically need are those colours. So I have now got a little bit of purple, of ultramarine blue, which is the warm blue. So I opened my book, and because I've got one here, there. Now this isn't proper glue because I put some water to it, but it'll work. I want to drop, and then I'm going to get a huge blob. A drop. I'll turn that round the other way so you can see it. So I've got a drop of a blob of paint there, and it's next to the ultramarine. And so I'm just going to stick that there. And that's how easy it is. Now if you did that on a sheet of paper, or between any plastic, as long as it's a little bit stiffer than cling film, you've got your watercolour palette. And that's all I've done with these, and they're not going anywhere. Because what I thought, I'm going to have to put something round it, but I haven't. The only thing I've started to do is to wrap a kitchen roll, piece of kitchen roll, paper towel, around it with the rubber band. And then if anyone did fall out, because these are proper watercolours, it's a proper pan. But I hope that was okay. Let me put the glasses back on now. Did that explain everything okay? Did that explain? Did that explain everything? Oh, I'm sorry I went too fast. What did I go too fast with? Oh, the hydrus. Sorry. Right. So if you've got those colours in the hydrus, use those. The hydrus colours will be the yellow ochre, the lemon yellow, the brilliant cad red or a cadmium red, a rose red or a Elysian red, the pinky red, ultramarine, which is the warm blue, and I don't have one, but I'm going to try and make one. You want a cool blue, but phthalo blue is cooler than ultramarine. But we'll see what the best colours are with those. Was that as clear as mud? Sorry. Was that a bit better? So those are the 6 colours that I'll use in the hydrus. But really you can use any watercolour will do the same, as long as it's good quality. But you could even use Derwent pencils. They do the same colours, they have the same colours. So what I might do is I'll dig those out so you can see it in the pencil how easy it is to mix. Was that okay? Sorry about that. So there are your colours, and from those colours you can make black. You can pale them out. Well, you've seen with the thumper. That pink is very pale. That one's a white one. I've missed that one out, but there are some fairly pale colours there, pinks and purples as well. Some very pale ones. They're really pale. If I hold that up, you can see that purple there. If it will. It's next to the white. There's not much in it. It's very pale. Same with the greens. I think that's the deepest green. So something like this would be quite good, because you can take one of your colours and explore how many shades you can get from that one colour, and then you can do it with another colour, and then you can mix those two together and start the whole process again. It is endless. Yeah, the other thing is, people have a brown and want to make a brown, and they'll only have those 2 colours. From those 2 colours, it's almost impossible to make a brown, because you make a purple. And if you have those 2 colours, the cool blue and the cool red, it's impossible to make a purple. And that's how people get frustrated, and the same with the greens. We all know that a green is yellow, or a purple is a blue and a red. But if you mix those 2 colours together, you will never get purple. You will never ever get purple if you have a cool blue and a cool red. And you'll never get a brown if you mix a red and a blue together, which should give you brown. You want an orangey one. Now orange and blue will give you brown, and pink and blue will give you purple. So these are the only 6 colours that you ever really need. So if you want the hydrus, yes, you've got to pay, say, £7, but you don't want. And I didn't realise they were separate. Otherwise, I would not have bought all these others. I wouldn't have bought the green or the purple. I would have made my own. What's the time doing? I'll stop this recording, and then what I might do is just do very quickly about the colours, and then you can have a play ready for next week or next time. So